The member for Période South and leader of his party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this provincial parliament of ours has seen only 18 regular sitting days since the state of emergency was declared 11 months ago. Former President of India, Pratibha Patil, called Parliament the repository of the sovereign will of the people, Mr. Speaker. This Parliament has been the repository of an empty chamber, mostly for the last 11 months. The Premier seems to think that our role is to dutifully participate in the procedures needed for him to carry out his agenda. John Diefenbaker, of all people, Mr. Speaker, said Parliament is far more than procedure, it is the custodian of the nation's freedom. The business of this House is not to rubber stamp the agenda of the Premier and his Cabinet, rather it is to hold him and his ministers accountable, to make law and to debate the issues of the day. It's time the citizens who sent us here know when to expect us at work. Will the Premier commit to tabling a parliamentary calendar when we return in March?
The Government House Leader.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, starting from the beginning, we get elected in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic. We managed to put through a huge number of bills in a very short period of time. We managed at the start of the pandemic to pass a budget in 17 minutes. So, Mr. Speaker, I would say that that's because we have a well-functioning legislature, and that includes the opposition as well in that view. Now, we've been doing work through our committee work all since after Christmas and the beginning of the new year. We've been doing committee work, advancing the interests of the people of this province. We have been working through COVID, collaborating, I thought, quite well as a legislature, and we'll continue to do that. So, Mr. Speaker, we don't need a legislative calendar. What we need is to continue to work together and do the work that New Brunswickers expect us to do each and every day that we can.
The member for Période South and leader of his party.
As I was saying, Mr. Speaker, in a parliamentary democracy like ours, cabinet ministers are accountable to this legislature. While we were away from this chamber, we had one minister who stepped over the line by writing to the EUB to suggest how they should carry out their business as an economic regulator. And the Premier publicly endorsed his action rather than sanctioning him. Then, on January 22nd, the Aquinian reported that during a December 1st meeting with university presidents, another minister, the Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Labour, criticized the quality of Stu's Bachelor of Social Work program, blaming his graduates for not having the necessary skills to get people off social assistance. Mr. Premier, what's next? Mr. Speaker, what's next? Blaming our medical school graduates for sick people, or the minister's appalling behaviour on the UNBSJ Political Science Department? Mr. Speaker, will the Premier require the minister to publicly apologize for his attack on St. Thomas University and its social work program?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I think that in every sector of what we do, we need to find new ways of doing it. And we need to challenge all of our, be it institutions, be it our service delivery, be it our departments, be it with any aspect of what we do to get better, Mr. Speaker, because we are challenged in New Brunswick, but we're not unique. We're challenged and competing with every province in the country and other provinces. As for the particular question, and in relation to the letter from the Minister and the EUB, it was suggesting the EUB make a decision, Mr. Speaker. We asked them to look at it and make a decision. We've seen what's happened around us. We've seen what's happened in Newfoundland with the refinery closing. We've seen the refinery close in Nova Scotia a few years ago. And we know, Mr. Speaker, that the impact that's coming, which I spoke of in the state of the province, on the refining operation based on federal requirements is going to be devastating, Mr. Speaker. But the saddest part is that we're going to be buying fuel from other countries around the world who do not have the human rights benefits, do not have the climate change issues that we are dealing with. We have to find a solution to that.
The member for Miramichi in the gallery.